How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, my earlier meeting went pretty smooth, 1 hour long. I,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it would go longer. Thought I was going to roll right into this one. Hey, aloha.
Hey, aloha.
How'd it go?
Oh my gosh. It was the perfect trip, but with all the businesses that are shuttered, we went to Lahaina and like 8 out of 10 places are closed.
Oh,
Just
wow. Yeah.
boarded up. And it's was really nice to be on the plane. We had our whole row to ourselves, but then, businesses are shuttered. There was nobody really there, which was nice. But
Right.
so it was bittersweet, but
It's got
beautiful.
the beaches. The beaches, right?
Yeah, the beach. There was nobody on the beaches. There's no 30% capacity at the hotel we were at. So,
Wow. Yeah.
and I think people are not coming. The ones that were planning on coming are not coming now.
Right now, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a short window there to make it, and you could have went on the road to Hana with less traffic, right?
Yeah, I didn't do that to Jim.
Yeah. We did that once, and then we did it. Well, actually, we did it twice. It was pretty crazy, but yeah, the second time they have that shirt. I was crazy enough to go on to the road to Hana. Well, we kept going. We went around the whole island, and the second time we went was like, we shouldn't have done this. But that's the pretty part of the island, really pretty part. I mean, it's all cool. It's all good, but
Yeah, it was great. I got tons of pictures I can show you guys.
cool. Mhm.
So the YouTube live stream is on now too. So Zoom's going and YouTube is going. Just so you know.
Both.
Yeah. And I got both screens going. It's kind of like mission control here.
Yeah.
Sean, do you have a flag we could?
No.
Okay.
And I don't know if we have.
Um,
Krika, do we have a flag somewhere that we can do the pledge?
So done. Guess you need to post one like
yeah.
just on the side. Well, I have a flag.
Go get it.
I have your mallet.
Thank you. I was going to use my phone. Oh, Tim. Look at Tim.
Look at that background.
Dang.
Nice.
You rock.
I don't know how to hang it though.
You just hold it like a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Like a battle.
How's it going, Tim?
Good. How's everybody?
Good.
Excellent.
The YouTube live stream is also going now. So
Okay.
That looks good, Jeff.
All right, cool.
And then you can lead us in our flag salute when we get to that.
All right. I don't know if that's high enough, huh?
It
That's
looks good.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right. Got that off my neighbor's house. No, not really.
Is Rhonda and Brian expected to come in tonight?
I think so. They're going to be on, right, Cricket?
Yes, Brian said he'd be here. Rhonda said she'd work on it. She has problems technically to do this.
So we'll wait for Brian a little bit then.
Did anybody go to the coffee shop grand opening this evening?
Mm-mm.
I thought it got canceled.
I did too. I thought it got pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They have a nice setup though. I really like their patio or deck area, sitting area. Very nice.
What a nice improvement, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, it reminds me of, oh, go ahead.
Brian had said he had a 6:30
Oh,
go to. I forgot about that. But Rhonda was trying to get on. So we have 3. She said, you know, she'll try to get on, but I don't know if she will.
all right. So shall we start then, everybody?
Go ahead and start.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Loomis special meeting of our town council. Tonight is November 19th. It is 6:02, and I would like to bring this meeting to order. Before we go on, we have our Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Duncan, would you lead us in that, please?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
States and to
To
the
the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty,
liberty and justice.
justice for all. Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Duncan,
Here.
Councilmember Underko,
Here.
Mayor Clark Kretz.
Here. All right, now we are going to go on to public comment for items not on the agenda. And there are several ways in which you can do the public comment. It is on our agenda. And Sean, will you please let us know if there's anybody that would like to have some public comment?
Yeah, we have one right now. I'm gonna open the lineup for phone number who ends in 1484. So you are on. You need to unmute yourself. Here you go.
Okay, good evening. My name is Jesse Lunsford. I'm at 6133 Smokewood Court. On November 13, Loomis Gold Country Media reported that the Loomis Town Council appointed several members of our community to the General Plan Housing Element Committee. I'm hoping this was a misprint on their part and that only one female was nominated to this important committee. If this article is incorrect, forgive me for wasting your time. But if it is correct, I am hurt and offended. These women are our mothers, our wives, and our daughters. And I am insulted to think we've re-entered the 1960s, when 50% of our population is female and 15 of the 30 applicants were very qualified females. Please explain why only one female was nominated for 7 open positions. This makes no sense that only 14% of the positions were all the Loomis female community was entitled to. The newspaper quoted Councilmember Baker. Looking through everyone's applications and their qualifications, there's a lot of very qualified people in our town. This is 2020, and I'm sorry and I'm embarrassed to have to ask, do these committee positions only apply to qualified men? Even if the 2 recently elected council members were to appoint 2 women, the best the female population can expect is a 33% seat at the table of the Housing Element Committee. I very much hoping the Loomis newspaper was incorrect in its facts, and I apologize to whoever I might have offended. If not, there should be some deep reflection from our town council on why the women of Loomis were ignored and disrespected. I do thank you for your time. Good evening.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Jesse. Is there any other public comment?
Nope, that's it.
All right, with no more public comment, we'll move on to adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Onderko,
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan,
Aye.
Mayor Clark Kretz.
Aye. All right, we're going to move right on to business, and that is Pioneer Community Energy Joint Powers Agreement, proposed amendment.
Thank you. Thank you so much for putting us on the agenda tonight and having this special meeting. It's a time-sensitive issue for Pioneer Community Energy, and we do have some information to share. Last time we were speaking with your council, it was about the potential of expansion, but we didn't have the results of the impact assessment study. We do want to share those results with you today, and the reason that we have this on your agenda for tonight is because, you know, most decisions, if you're making an amendment to the JPA, it's being done at the Pioneer board level, but there are 2 instances where you need to go through every member agency's council for approval before the Pioneer board votes on it. One is terminating a member, the other is adding a member. In this case, we're looking to add 2 members, City of Placerville and El Dorado County. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and go through a very brief presentation with you. Or maybe I can. Okay, the host disabled, or somebody may, if you have the.
I can turn it on. I didn't know that you were gonna do a presentation.
Okay, sorry about that, Sean.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Sean. Yeah. Great. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so just to be clear, where exactly are we looking to expand to? So everything blue on the El Dorado County map here would be PG&E territory, and that's what's eligible for service by Pioneer. We separate Placerville on this because that's incorporated, but in essence, everything in blue is coming over to us. We hired an independent consultant to run the impact assessment study. We asked for permission from Placerville and El Dorado County's officials to get their most recent PG&E data for the last 24 months. The consultant then used that data to run the numbers. We assumed a 10% opt-out. We have a service commencing in January 2022, and we used the current Pioneer rates over the next 3 years, as well as any open positions on power supply was marked to market. And just to go through the significance of this expansion, this is a big deal for Pioneer, and it's going to be we feel a win-win for Loomis, Pioneer, El Dorado County, and Placerville. And in this case, we're looking at 93,000 accounts that we currently have. Expansion takes us to about 160,000, so it's a major expansion. Energy usage around 1,100 gigawatt hours up to 1,800 gigawatt hours with the expansion. And the way I look at this is that gives me another 70,000 meters, if you will, to spread risk across and to keep the rate stable. And we covered a lot of those risks in the last time that we presented to you. Just gives you a rate class composition of where we stand currently. About close to 57% of our ratepayers are in the residential class. When we add El Dorado and Placerville, that's actually more skewed towards residential as well. So when you blend those together, our new pie looks about 60-40 residential to commercial. So here's the base case. Let's just dive right into the numbers. And the base case would be if, load comes in exactly as planned, and we're looking at, very little load growth in the current base case, and we keep the rates as the same. We have our power supply, and as I stand today, we have some positions that are hedged 5 years out. Whatever is not hedged was marked to market. Our other operating expenses would be everything that's not power supply, such as data management of all our meters, our facilities, our staff. And then we do have in 2023, the last installment of our debt that we have on the line of credit. And you can see that in the current scenario, not expanding is not a bad option for Pioneer. We're still in very good shape. We're still adding to reserves. We're not talking about rates. But when you go to the expansion table, in operating revenues, that's again the same rates as at what we currently have. None of that power supply in the expansion scenario would be hedged at today's prices. So those are mark to market. You see a little bit of an uptick in other operating expenses. That's really the driver there is more meters to manage, and those is about $1 per meter. But in essence, the infrastructure was already in place, so I'm not looking to add, more than probably 2 FTEs and some marketing expenses. Really not a huge burden on other operating expenses. Again, we still have our debt service, and you can see the difference to the bottom line. Again, current is not bad. Expansion just gives us another $8 million on average per year to absorb those risks that we talked about last time that we presented, such as price shocks and power supply. And what I'm looking at here is, Pioneer has done a very good job at being competitive with rates, but we're sort of stuck in this trench, if you will, where we're so focused on rates, our margins are very tight, and we can't deliver on a lot of the other value plays that I think are important to Loomis, such as looking at incentivizing businesses that maybe don't move into Loomis, but they hire folks from Loomis or do move into Loomis. I'm looking at biomass plays and PSPS mitigation and jobs and rates. So it's all those things, and I want Pioneer to expand to those value plays beyond just rates, and expansion does help us get there. And just as an example of what the projected reserves would be, and again, what this really means is not so much the numbers as much as it's the difference in being able to absorb price shocks, being able to compete with PG&E, and start looking at biomass and other value plays that cost money, and to be able to do those other value plays without having to raise rates, or at least postponing a rates discussion for a very long time. And so this just gives you an impact of the current scenario and where we would be with expansion. We also did 3 stress tests, and to say, okay, and these are extreme events, to say, if this event happens, does it still make sense to expand? So the first one we looked at was a 25% opt-out rate with El Dorado County and City of Placerville. In this case, we're assuming that the messaging just goes horribly wrong, and does it still make sense to expand? When I look at the current case, we kept that the same. We kept our 11% on average opt-out rate the same, but with expansion, we jumped that up to 25% opt-out. And does it make sense? The answer is yes. So it passes this stress test. And why that makes sense is if you have less meters to serve, well, you also have less power supply. So yes, this case isn't as good as the base case, but it's still a much more, it still is better for Pioneer under this stress test. Next stress test would be, okay, we're bringing El Dorado and Placerville online in 2022, and power supply prices go through the roof. Are we in a position does this still make sense to expand when none of those positions are hedged, and we could be a victim of bad timing with the market? Well, when you look at the current case, power supply costs would not just be exclusive to expansion. we're not 100% hedged either. So it would impact Pioneer as well. So if we saw an incredible increase in power supply prices, under the current scenario, we're having a conversation with our board to say, are we going to raise rates, or are we comfortable reducing reserves? And when I look at this reducing the reserves, it puts us in that defensive position. And then I'm not able to start addressing some of the other plays that are important to you folks. With expansion, the numbers aren't great either, but I'm treading water. I'm doing okay, and we're not talking about rates. And the last stress test that we looked at was, we have a very competitive position on our prices now, but in the scenario where PG&E lowers their rates and the power charge and difference adjustment, which is already volatile, goes again through the roof, or you have either a combination of those two factors or one or the other happens. At the end of the day, I have to stay competitive compared to your PG&E bill. And this is a very real scenario that could happen. In the current case, again, I'm drawing from reserves. We're playing defense. When I look at expansion, and this is the beauty of expansion for me, in that I'm not talking about rates if an extreme event like this happened. So that covers the financial feasibility of the study. Does it make sense? We looked at the base case, and the answer was yes. We stress tested it, as you just saw, and in all those cases, Pioneer was better off with expansion than without. Looking at the proposed governing board, I think last time we thought we were going to land with a 9-member board. We had Councilman Duncan can fill you in as well, but we had a good discussion with our Pioneer board at our meeting this afternoon, a few hours ago, talking about voting shares and what the governing board was going to look like. So where we landed was a motion for staff to come back to the Pioneer board next month with a proposed resolution to change the JPA language to get rid of weighted voting, eliminate that provision, and just have a 1-member, 1 vote, and Placer County would keep their 2 seats. So this slide is still current. If we would still keep our 7-member board and have 1 member each from Placerville and El Dorado County. But what did change is on this slide. So in our current situation, you can see where Placer County is almost 50% of the voting share. And just to be clear, the voting share is based on your previous 12 months of energy usage for that particular territory. And in this case, again, Placer County is the majority share, voting share. Under expansion, El Dorado now becomes the #1 voting share. We spent a lot of time with El Dorado and Placerville, making sure that they were in line with the goals and vision that the Pioneer board has, as well as Loomis, and to make sure that we're not getting folks that are just going to be in conflict with what you want out of Pioneer. So that's one qualifier with the voting shares, but I also look at this, that even if something were to go haywire with El Dorado and Placerville, the founding members still have a 60% share. But as of just about an hour and a half ago, the board has directed me to draft language to remove weighted voting from the JPA. So it hasn't been officially voted by our board yet, but I would assume that this slide is probably not going to be applicable as we move forward. And then here's the timeline. We have to, at the end of the day, we have to hit the December 31st filing with the CPUC. And why that's so critical is that the CPUC, in a reaction to the CCA movement over the last 3, 4, 5 years, I think they got a little nervous with all the CCAs coming online and what that impact is going to be to grid and to reliability and to their governance. And so they have a 1-year waiting period before you can bring on the new folks. So if we miss the December 31st deadline, I have to wait until 2023 to be able to bring Placerville and El Dorado online. So we're hitting all the member agencies, and we had Auburn on November 9th, and they voted to approve it. El Dorado and Placerville have also voted to approve it. Rockland wanted to see how the voting share discussion went, so they deferred their decision to December 8th. So I haven't updated the slide yet, but that's the latest. We met with Placer County Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, and they voted also to approve allowing El Dorado and Placerville in. And then on December 8th and 9th, we'll hit Rockland again, Lincoln, and Colfax with the goal of having the amended JPA approved by our board on December 17th, along with the amended implementation plan. That plan then gets filed with the CPUC. And then there's about a 90-day wait between when they approve it and when we get when we submit it and when we get a decision from the CPUC. And the soonest we would be buying power or spending any cash would be after that decision is made at the end of March. So that's the deadline, and that's why it was so critical to be able to talk to you folks before the December 17th board meeting. So our recommendation is we believe this is a win-win for Loomis. It's a win for Pioneer. It's a win for El Dorado and Placerville, and overall, it benefits both sides. I think El Dorado and Placerville, they were to do their own CCA. I don't think they have the right size of load to be able to absorb those risks. When I look at Pioneer, we have the right size load to absorb the risk to keep the rate stable, but we're not in a position to start delivering on other value plays. You put the two of us together, and this makes sense. And another just came out today at our board meeting was what are the risks to the equity that has been built up, by Pioneer's ratepayers, and then all of a sudden El Dorado and Placerville come in, and for whatever reasons, and we talked about those risks, for whatever reasons, they share the same rates as Pioneer folks, but it's not covering their costs of service. It could be because of a power supply shock, PCI, whatever the reasons might be. We had a good discussion with our board today, and where we landed was we will come back with a baseline reserve policy, if you will. And what that essentially means is that at the time of expansion, whatever equity our Pioneer ratepayers have built up, we would essentially protect that through this policy so that it's not being used to subsidize El Dorado and Placerville. In the event that El Dorado and Placerville are not covering their cost of service, we can adjust the rates for them accordingly. And those rates may be different than what the current Pioneer folks are paying, but it would be in reaction to covering their cost of service. So we're going into this with an idea that equity that all you folks pitched into to build needs to be protected. And we will have that policy at our December board meeting as well. So that concludes my presentation. Really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us tonight. This is a really important topic for Pioneer, and I look forward to any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Don. Anybody have any questions? I know I do. So Tim, do you have any questions? No, Tim? Nope. Councilmember Duncan, do you have any questions? You have to unmute.
I was off mute that whole time. Oh my God. No, I just wanted to mention that one of the benefits, I believe, by expansion is that if those base case scenarios took place, that we would have to raise rates. Is that correct, Don? Right.
So if we're in a situation where I actually think this is the most likely one, where PG&E were to lower their rates and the PCI goes up, it puts pressure on our current rates and our revenues. And you can see on this, without expansion, we're dipping into reserves, and we're having a conversation about, is that acceptable, or do we want to go ahead and start having a rates adjustment? If you look at expansion, it keeps us out of that discussion.
And that has a lot to do with the PCIA charge, because no one expects PG&E to reduce rates, although it's hard to tell. They did send out notification about requesting some changes to the PCIA, which would increase rates quite a bit. So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the greater risk there is the power charge and difference adjustment. It's highly volatile. It's a black box, if you will. It's very hard for us to understand how those rates are calculated. It's been conflict ever since the CCA movement started, and that certainly is a risk that could happen.
all right, thanks, Don.
Yep.
And Dawn, I have a couple questions. I want the people of our town just sort of go over the voting again. And you say there's 7 seats now, right? Placer
Yes.
County, Loomis. Did Placer County only has 1 seat or 2?
Placer County currently has 2 seats. Yes.
And so does that mean they get 2 votes then?
In a yes, they would have under 1 member, 1 vote. Yes, that would be 2 votes for them. Yes.
All right.
And just to
ahead.
add to that, one of the reasons that I believe that was set up before I got here, but my understanding of it is, we do have the line of credit with Placer County, and that's probably influenced why they have 2 seats on there. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, they have 2 seats.
And they used to have 50% of the vote. Now it'll just be 2 votes if this is approved, correct?
So what you're voting on tonight is to amend the JPA to allow El Dorado and Placerville to join. The direction I got from the board today was to draft a resolution to also amend the JPA to have essentially a 9-member board if Placerville and El Dorado join, and eliminate all the weighted voting. So what you're voting on today is not addressing the weighted voting issue, but that will be brought up and addressed by our Pioneer Board in December.
Well, because it seems to me at least for me personally, I would like to see that the weighted, it seems to me better for that to be gone. And so I just wanted to know how our resolution, is worded so that we avoid any sort of conflict if that doesn't happen. So, and you say Rockland's waiting, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Let's see. All right, let's open it up for public comment then if nobody else has any other questions. Okay.
Doesn't look like we have any public comment yet. Yeah, no public comment. Don, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Oh, yes.
Thanks. So no public comment, Madam Mayor.
All right, let's bring it back. So the action that has been requested of us tonight is to adopt a resolution approving the amendment, and the amendment is just to expand the membership to include the County of El Dorado and the City of Placerville.
Yes.
I'll move
Anybody?
the item.
Okay. Unmute, Jeff.
What was that? Did I hear?
There's
You're
a
good.
motion, and are you,
Yes, I'll second.
okay, roll call, please.
Unmute.
Unmute, Cricket.
Okay, Councilmember Onderko,
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan,
Aye.
Mayor Clark Kretz.
Aye. All right, so that resolution has been approved, and thank you, Dawn, for coming out this evening. We do have another item on our agenda, COVID-19 update. Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a brief update on this to make sure council knows what's been happening with that, and also the public. So, excuse me, on Tuesday, I believe it was Tuesday, Governor Newsom moved Placer County along with the majority of counties in the state into the purple tier on the rating or the kind of system that it's been set up on reopening the economy. So purple tier means that businesses in the city, specific businesses, are going to be facing increased restrictions. Some of those are like for a restaurant, for example, don't allow in-person or inside seating. They have to be outside seating. places of worship are not supposed to have indoor services. They're supposed to be outdoor services. So there's a bunch of different restrictions that are placed on different businesses. You can get all of that on the state website. We put a link to that on the town's Facebook page. I'll be posting it to the website here sometime soon as well. So we'll get that updated. So that happened on Tuesday. And then today, the governor declared a partial curfew that takes effect from 10 a.m. to, I believe it's 5 or maybe 6 a.m. And so folks are not supposed to be out for unnecessary issues or unnecessary reasons past 10 o'clock. So basically to prevent gatherings and that sort of stuff. So that's the two things that just happened in this past week. The library, or the Loomis Library, was scheduled to open hopefully this week, potentially next week. However, with us moving into the purple tier, I don't see a reason for us to try to open the library when it hasn't been opened yet, when we're in the middle of this purple tier. We still had to fabricate the framing for the plastic protectors that we're putting up for staff. But because of being in the purple tier, it just, at this point, we've decided to put that on hold. And so I don't have a specific time on when we're going to be opening at this point, but we'll wait until we move out of the purple tier and at least into the red tier to move forward with that. On a staffing side, you know, because of the size of our staff, for example, our public works department, if anybody in our public works department has a family member that was potentially exposed through their employment, we're telling our staff to also go get tested and not come back to work until their test comes back negative. And so that's obviously had an impact on our staffing levels. Same things happened at the library. Public Works Department, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, 50% of our Public Works Department was out waiting for their COVID test to come back, because we only have 4 people in the Public Works Department. 2 of them were out at the same time. The library had an issue where 2 of the 3 library employees were out at the same time waiting for the test to come back negative. And so and then on top of that, we're entering into flu season, cold season. We don't want folks coming into work if they're sick and if they've got a cough or a cold or anything. And so we're telling our staff members that if you do have a cough, because this is a symptom of COVID, or if you've got flu symptoms, obviously we don't want you coming in and potentially infecting folks here. And then on top of that, even if they're not, we don't want them coming in and passing around flu or cold. So last week I was out for about 4 days waiting for my negative test to come in and then waiting for my cold to clear up to where I could come to work. So during this winter, we're going to see that potential on the staffing side where we'll be shorthanded off and on. On the public works side, I think we should be okay where we'll have at least 50% going at once, because they're working on and off different weeks. So we've got they're coming into the facility 1 week. We got 2 guys coming in 1 week. The next week, 2 guys come into the facility. The other 2 are working out on the field, but they're not coming in as much. On the library side, they're actually in the library. Our staff's in the library 6 days a week, but they'll continue to do the virtual program that they're doing, the curbside pickup stuff that they're doing. We're going to increase that curbside pickup to probably be pick up an extra day. That'll probably, I think, be Fridays. So that way we've got the kids who need, something to do over the weekend can come in. Their parents can pick up the book on the curbside, get in some stuff to do. We also have at the library, we have the craft kits that our staff is putting together. That's been very, very successful. So that's continuing. On the library operations side, because I don't know when the library is going to be open at this point, and how long that purple tier stuff is going to last, we're going to be sending out a survey probably within the next week or so to all folks who have a library card. Will be getting the survey, and then they're going to share the survey with me so I can post it on the town Facebook account and then email it out as well through our agenda management or our agenda system, to just basically ask folks, what would you like to see at the library now? Because we did a lot of work to get into the virtual side. We've got a lot of that programming going, and we want to make sure that we're capturing as many people and helping as many people as we can. And if like the needs have changed, then we want to know what the needs have changed to. So if you have a library card, be looking for that, and then watch on the town's Facebook page for that as well. Let's see what else. We're still taking the approach of we get a complaint about a business, taking the approach of education of the business, making sure that the business understands that you received a complaint for whatever the reason the complaint was. And then, you know, I'll give a call back probably a week after and see how things are going. We haven't done any administrative citations, anything like that. But we're trying to make sure that folks understand the, you know, the issue and providing the education to keep them updated. I know that hospitals are seeing a pretty significant uptick in cases. And so that's, you know, the primary concern, I think, of the health director at this point is making sure that we're able to keep that caseload down as much as possible. So everybody needs to do their part, wearing masks, washing hands, social distancing, all that stuff, and make sure that we're, you know, able to get through the winter. So I can answer questions if you have questions.
All right, thank you, Sean. Does anybody have any questions for Sean? Tim? Nope. Jeff?
No, I have no.
No. All right. Yeah, that's it. You know, I think it's really wise about the library, and you know, the unknown is lies at the feet of our governor with the fact that he's able to put on his emergency brake without counties and municipalities really being able to plan ahead. And so that is a huge unknown, and it's hard to plan when you have that sort of unknown. So let's open that up to for public comment. See if we have anything out there for people to.
So if you're looking to public comment, you'll need to raise your hand through the Zoom function to do that. We have Bonnie London. Bonnie, you're on. You'll need to unmute yourself. There you go.
All right. Hi, guys. No, I just want to reiterate what Sean mentioned about the hospital status. Yes, the hospitalization rates have doubled in just the past week. The understanding with the hospitals and public health right now is that we have adequate bed capacity, but the issue is going to be staffing. And so their concern is that if we were to double again, that's really going to put a lot of pressure on the hospitals to manage the COVID patients in addition to their typical winter patients, which would be those with pneumonia, congestive heart failure, COPD, et cetera. So yeah, it's a serious issue. And then if you were to look at the dashboard and monitor the trends, a lot of the cases started to spike from essentially the end of October. And then it's just been exponentially going up. And so the big concern is actually seeing it increase significantly now when they were actually anticipating that to happen more along the lines of like the beginning of December and, through February. So it is deeply concerning. So would just encourage everybody just to follow the public health guidelines as much as they can and be safe.
Thank you, Bonnie. Wise words for sure. Any other public comment?
I don't see anybody else with their hand raised.
Okay. All right. Well, this was an informational only item. I just want to reiterate how important it is to wear your masks, and each one of us has our own, set of issues, and just make sure that you stay safe wherever you're going. If you're going somewhere that you don't feel safe, that you see people that are not complying, I would urge you to get into a place where you feel safe. And, and unfortunately, we're finding that not everybody is following the health department. And so, again, just want to urge everybody to wear masks, wash your hands, and only put yourself in a comfortable situation with you and your family. And so with that said, I'd like to adjourn our meeting this evening. It's 6:40. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and have a safe and pleasant rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay.